So I kind of forgot that these were coming out, to be honest with you. I remember ordering them online, but like they just kind of arrived, and I was like, oh, that was coming out. And I gotta be honest, this was actually a treat to watch again. I hadn't seen The Sixth Sense in many years. As a kid, Sixth Sense was a movie that, like, I feel like it was Blair Witch and Sixth Sense. That's what everybody was talking about. In 1999, you were doing two things as a kid. You were talking to your friends about The Sixth Sense, and you were playing Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. Because at that time, I remember vividly there was one night where my uncle had to babysit me and my brother because my parents were going to some work party or something for my dad. And me and my brother were upstairs playing Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1, and my uncle was downstairs watching The Sixth Sense. And when I learned, looking back, that this was a PG-13 movie, that is crazy to me. There's a lot of arguments today about, can PG-13 horror be good? Now, they still exist. There are movies like Countdown, for instance, that are PG-13 horror movies. There's movies like Escape Room. Some of them are pretty good. Not every PG-13 movie is great, but I had no idea because as a kid, The Sixth Sense absolutely mortified me. I remember finally being able to see this and realizing now, no, my parents weren't trying to sabotage my childhood. It was a PG-13 movie, and I was probably 10 or 11 at the time, so I mean, I was in the ballpark of being able to see this. But yeah, watching it as an adult is a totally different experience. You're really watching it for the performance of people like the kid, who's really great in here, and Toni Collette and Bruce Willis. Their performance in this are good, but it's so funny as an adult how blatantly obvious the twist is. And maybe it's just because of how long the movie's been out and how much it's been quoted and how much it became a pop culture. But as a kid, I remember truly being shocked that Bruce Willis was dead the whole time. And I remember the part of the movie that freaked me out the most of The Sixth Sense was this. It's the part of the movie where the boy gets up, goes back into the hallway where he's going to head back to his little religious hut he made to try to avoid the dead people coming from messing with him. And he sees this boy go across the hallway and he goes, "Hey, come here, I'll show you where my dad keeps his gun." And you see the blown out backside of his head. That is brutal stuff, even till this day. And, the gore of that looked disgusting because it had this gooey, fresh, bloody look to it. It was done really well. You always got to give credit to the makeup people and stuff during this era because even though technology and the CGI stuff was coming into play, that was makeup. Somebody turned the back of this kid's head into a blown-off skull, and that looked really good. Watching The Sixth Sense all these years later, I didn't think I was going to like it that much, but honestly, I do like it. As an adult watching it, you're watching it in a different lens. As a kid, it's truly the scariest movie ever made, but I thought it was a good movie still. Is it my favorite M. Night movie? No, it's not, but is this a pop culture movie? There's no denying it. The Sixth Sense is a movie that captivated a time and era. I can't think of 1999 without thinking of a few things, and at the top of that list, I think The Sixth Sense has to be in there. On a side note, being a big Stallone fan, I always wish he would have been able to branch out the way guys like Bruce Willis did. Because, Bruce Willis was a big action guy too. When you think Bruce Willis, a lot of people initially go to things like, like Die Hard and things like that, but Bruce was able to do a lot of different things. Bruce was also a musician as well. Check out his old blues bar band he had. It's actually some pretty good stuff. But Bruce actually does a really good job in this. I think Bruce is a good actor. And I know that Bruce is not doing really great health-wise now, but it's always great to celebrate him and enjoy his movies and just be happy that he's still, with us, because Bruce is an icon. There's no doubt about that. So the movie, I think, is pretty cool, man. It's really cool looking back at this now and remembering just how pop culturally relevant this was. This was every bit as pop culturally relevant to me as the Blair Witch was, which is right around the same time. I do remember Blair Witch being a huge thing, but I just remember when The Sixth Sense came out, that's what everybody was talking about, and it took over just the world. Here's the big surprise. This is going to be something I honestly did not in a million years think I was going to say. The Sixth Sense is a top 10 4K restoration of the year. And I know this is wild to say. If you would have told me Vinegar Syndrome restored this movie, I would have been like, I believe it. This looks like a Vinegar Syndrome 4K, and my jaw was on the floor. Now, what I mean by that is there's this beautiful even keel quality to everything Vinegar Syndrome does where you can tell there is no additives, no fakeness to anything that they're doing with those movies. It is purely uncompressed and restored, and there's this beautiful layer of film grain. There's film grain on this, natural gorgeous film grain, and it is beautiful. This is a movie lover's restoration, and I am shocked to say that I think The Sixth Sense is not only a 10 out of 10, but this is one of the best 4Ks of the year. I'll say this, I'm going to review this one too, but both of these are. I'm shocked at that. You know, this is actually a release that is done in pretty good faith, and we'll talk about more of it in a second, and for people around the world to enjoy this, which makes this an even bigger thing. You know, this is obviously a studio done release. This is coming from Spyglass, and to see a 4K done in this way, it just kind of makes me say, okay, we're okay. Yeah, there are people like James Cameron who don't really care to make their movies look like they did in the theater anymore, or look like they did theatrically. They want to do their thing, and you know what? So be it. That's his prerogative. But to see movies like this, I don't know if M. Night supervised this restoration. Maybe he did. If he did, kudos. If not, this was done the way us film lovers love it. Naturally, uncompressed, beautiful film grain, and just stunning. Absolutely stunning. This looked so good. I could not give this anything less than a perfect 10 4K. You know, every now and again, we get burned with restorations, and we're just less than impressed by them. This was not the case. And here's the kicker. This sucker has Dolby Audio, not only on the 4K disc, but also on the Blu-ray disc. They added Dolby Audio on the Blu-ray disc. But let's look at the release itself. I gotta say, this artwork sucks, but you know what? On this release, it's not as bad as the other one, which we'll talk about very, very soon. I will give them a pass on this one, but I have more gripes on the other one. Here's the backside of the release. They kind of tried to give it, I guess they're going for like this modern look. This one's okay at best. It's not good, but it's better than Signs, I'll say that. So that's the slipcover. The release looks identical. 4K, Blu-ray, and digital code. This is what both the discs look like. And the sound and audio on this was sensational. Now here's the kicker. Here's what makes this so cool. So, the bad news is the Blu-ray disc, if you are not a 4K person and you don't have this movie on a high-def release at all, the bad news is the Blu-ray is not the 4K restoration. The good news is, like I said, the Dolby Audio is on both releases, and here's the cool thing. I didn't notice this till I looked at it, and this is the same for the other release. The Blu-ray itself is still region ABC. As you can see right there, the Pyramid of Freedom is what I call it. It's still completely region-free. Obviously, the 4K is, but they decided to make the Blu-ray that way as well. Thank you. Thank you, Spyglass. Thank you. Like, that's the right thing to do. Make your release be available everywhere so people across the globe can enjoy it in both formats, because Blu-ray is not dead by a long stretch. There's still a lot of people that are just Blu-ray people, but this was great. Let's look at the back and talk about the special features of this. Alright guys, so we have basically all the legacy features. As far as I know, I think this is most of the Vista series stuff, if not all of it. We have deleted scenes, reflections from the set, between two worlds, moving pictures, the storyboard process, music and sound design, reaching the audience, rules and clues, and publicity. So guys, all in all, listen, this is a movie that, you know, for my era, if you remember this time, like, you can't look back on it and like hate on it. It was so huge. This was as popular and as culturally relevant as anything. At the time, it was everything. And if you experienced that, it's hard. You got this great feeling of nostalgia with it. It's a good movie. It's a really good movie. It's a different experience as an adult, but it's not a bad experience. I still enjoyed the movie a lot, and I think M. Night was just, like, he was on top of the world at this time. This was his era. This is when he had his genuine say. I still think he's got some good ones left in him. Sometimes I don't like them. Sometimes I think they're all right. Do I think he has another Sixth Sense or Signs in him? I do. I'm hoping it comes. But for 4K UHD, guys, you really can't go wrong with this 4K of The Sixth Sense. In my opinion, this is a top 10 4K restoration of the year. It was that damn good. I put my name on it. I was floored watching this one. If you were on the fence about this, I think you are going to be absolutely in love with this 4K. It looks as good as humanly possible, and it's done for fans of film. Thank you guys for watching this video. Let me know your thoughts on Sixth Sense, what your experience was like when this came out, and just your first time seeing it. What do you remember? And if you picked up this 4K, let me know as well. If you enjoyed this video, guys, drop a like on it. Be sure to subscribe if you have not to this channel. For now, this is your old pal CHH saying, I see dead people in 4K. Huge giant thank you to all of my Patreon supporters. Without you guys, this would not be possible. To get behind the scenes photos, videos, music, private live streams, and much more, you can subscribe to my Patreon for as little as $1 a month. Thank you to my patrons.